So guys, in this video we will learn how to create a basic table. So before that, we have to learn the data types in SQLs. Okay, so there are mainly these 6 data types, okay, in SQL. So the first one is integer, okay, int. Then the second one is decimal. So decimal looks like float in SQL. In decimal you can clearly see there are two arguments, m and n. M is for the digits which are before decimal point and n is for the digits which are after the decimal point. Okay, then we have varchar, and varchar means it is for characters. You can obviously put the maximum limit of the varchar. Suppose you want to put 5 letters, okay, in that case you can obviously put 5 over here, or you can put 10, 15, whatever, and that will be the maximum limit. Obviously if you put over here 100, that doesn't mean that you need to put every word that is exactly 100 size. Okay, you can obviously put 5, 10, 15 letters in varchar with 100 limits. Okay, but if you put over here 100, and that will obviously take a lots of storage in your database. And the fourth one is blob, and that is for binary objects. Okay, then the fifth one is for date, and that format is, you can clearly see over here, this is the exact format in date as well. And the last one is for timestamp, where you can put the date and time as well. So the format is, first of all we have to put year, then hyphen, then month, then hyphen, then date, and then space, then hour, number of hour, like 12, 13, 14 till 24, and then minutes and seconds. Okay, that's it. So this is the data types in SQL, and let's create a basic table. So we will use the SQL command line over here, but we can obviously use the SQL workbench as well. But in this video we will use the SQL command line. In the next video we will use the SQL workbench, so that you can understand both the things properly. So yeah, this is the basic table, student table, and it has this 5 unique ID. So always remember, this ID should be primary key. That means it should be unique for every particular student, and the second column is for name, and the third one is for class. So we will just open our MySQL command line, and we have to put the password as well. So we will just put our password. Yeah, so now we are into our MySQL command line. But before creating this table we have to create a database, otherwise it will not understand in which database we want to put this thing. Before that we have to show the databases, so that we can understand that there is no database called student. uh, yeah, and do remember we have to always put the semicolon after every line, otherwise it will not run. You can obviously see over here it is not running, but whenever we put semicolon it will run. Okay, so there is no database called student, so we can obviously create a database. But it will be better if you write the by default, or you can say predefined codes in capital or uppercase. Okay, so that you can separate both the things. And if you write something which is not predefined, that should be in lowercase. So we will just write over here create database. Okay, create database. You can see over here I am writing this thing in capital. That is because these are predefined comments in SQL, and then we have to write the database name. So here we will just write students. Okay, and okay, we mistake that we didn't put the semicolon after this line, so we have to put semicolon, and this will be created. You can see query. Okay, one row affected. Now if you run show databases, and if you put semicolon over here, you can clearly see that now we have this student database. Okay, so now we have to go into that students database, so that we can create that table. Do remember that that it is not mandatory to create only one table in a particular database. In a particular database there can be multiple tables, so that is not a big deal. And now we have to go into that particular students database, so we will just write over there use, then the database name. So here it is students. Okay, now we can see the database is changed. Now we have to create this table, so we will just write over here create table, then student. Okay, oops, student. Yeah, that's fine. Now we have to go into that particular table, so we will just use this first parenthesis, starting parenthesis, and then we have to write the student ID. So student ID is not a predefined comment in SQL, so we will just put it in a smaller, or you can say lower font, and then student ID, and that is an integer type, so we will just write int. Okay, and every column should be separated with comma. okay, and then we have to put the name, and this is a character type data types. Okay, so we have to write var char, and the limit can be obviously 10, 20, 1000, 100. You can obviously put 1000 as well, but if you initialize 1000 byte for every name, that will obviously take a lots of storage in your database, right? So we don't want that. The maximum can be 20, so that's fine. And then we have to write the class, and that is also a varchar with maximum 5, and that's fine. So this is actually Roman numeric thing. The maximum can be 5, that's fine. And now we have to close the parenthesis, and remember here I didn't put any comma because you have to put comma between two columns. Okay, so because the student and name is two different columns, so we put comma over here. Then name and class are two different columns, so we will put comma over here. But after class there is no column, so that's why we didn't put any comma over here. Then this closing parenthesis and a semicolon, because we have to end every line with semicolon. It's like C, using C and C++ like this. In Python we don't use that obviously. And then if you press enter, you can see query okay, 0 row affected. That's fine. Now if you want to see that whether this thing is created or not, you can just write describe, then the table name, okay, student, and a semicolon. Yeah, so you can see that this table is now created. It is student, it has these three columns: student id, name, class. And student id is initialized with integer data type, name and char class, sorry, is initialized with varchar data type, and this all contains null value. And yeah, all are by default null because we don't have anything inside these columns. And you can obviously put a drop table if you want to delete some table. So if you write drop table and then the table name, for example here it is student, and then semicolon, it will delete this table. Okay, that means there will be no table student. Let's do that. Okay, so let's do that. Query okay, 0 row affected. And if you just check whether this table is present or not, it will show that error, this student table doesn't exist. Okay, that means it is deleted. So let's create this table again. Create table student, this thing, this, yeah. So now I guess where is that? Yeah, so you can see this table is now created. And now in case if you want to add some more column in this table, for example, let me just maximize this thing a little bit, and let me write it over here, a GPA. For example, if you want to put your GPA over here, and you can also do that as well. For example, the GPAs are like decimal values, right? So it is kind of like 3 point something, 4 point something. So after the decimal point there should be a 2 digit, and before the decimal point there should be also a 2 digit. So we will declare a GPA as well. So to create a new column after these already exist columns, you just need to write alter, then table, and then the class table name which you want to use. Here it is student, and then add, then GPA, like the column name which you want to add, and then the type of the column, like this. We are first of all writing the column name, then the type of the column. So here the column name is GPA and the type of the column is decimal, right? So it is decimal. And in the parenthesis we have to write the limits. So we want like 2,2. Okay, 2,2 a decimal point. That means we can put maximum 2 digits before the decimal point and the maximum 2 digits after the decimal point. And then we have to write a semicolon and press enter, query okay. And then if you write describe student, now you can see this GPA column is now added, and it is the type of decimal. That's fine. So I guess this is all about this video. So we now created this basic table, and that's fine. In our next video we will learn how to insert elements in this table. Okay.